3 meters. 4.
Welcome to Been There, Played That, the totally unoriginal idea to talk about video games. My name is Brett. I'm joined here with Ben Miller and Augustine Hart. Today we're going to be talking about one of video games' most well-known franchises, Sonic the Hedgehog. If you kept up with Sonic in the last few years, you know that their recent games have been...
Sucky.
Yeah, pretty crappy. Until now, with the new release of Sonic Mania.
So in a nutshell, Sonic Mania is a new old-school Sonic game that takes the old levels from the first 3 games as a basis and basically imagines as if 1996 had a new 2D Sonic with amazing new sprite design, new pixel art. It's amazing.
So what is it about Sonic in general that is so special to you guys? What did this game do right that made it so good?
So this is actually...
That was my ice machine. There's a murderer in here.
Sonic works really well with its momentum mechanics.
Right.
Like the feeling of building up speed and how that interacts with the world. I don't think that a single 3D Sonic game has ever managed to get that done, at least in the same way as the Genesis games ever did.
Right. For me, Sonic has this feeling of a level of mastery. Once you get good at it and once you've played it enough, you're able to achieve that ability to keep your momentum and, get to a point where you can jump over the spikes so you're not like coming to an abrupt stop. You jump over them, you keep your momentum, you go around the loop-de-loop and you keep running, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something that it does really well and I've never seen done super well in 3D that I can think of. It seems like in 3D it's always controlled. Like you're going fast, but it doesn't feel like you're going fast because it feels like one of those old like whatever it's called, like those rotoscoping games or like one of those fake movies where there's like a background that's moving and then the person is staying still, kind of
like
Dude, that reminds me of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, like a
They're like walking past this plant and they're like, yeah, we gotta do like all these things. And then like 30 minutes later, they're like, haven't we seen this plant before?
Exactly, like that's what new 3D Sonic feels to me sometimes. It's like Sonic is standing still and you kind of like move between lanes, or like almost one of those games on your phone where you're like running and you just have to avoid obstacles or jump or whatever.
Right.
It feels like that to me, like a very controlled speed where when you play one of these old school Sonic games, you can be moving so fast where it's like you start to get to the end of the screen and it feels like the screen is having trouble keeping up with you. Of course it's not. It's just designed that way to make you feel like you're going super fast.
Yeah, and one of the greatest things that Christian Whitehead and the other teams who made the Sonic Mania did was they did what they did for their Sonic CD and Sonic 2 ports, where they just broadened the aspect ratio to widescreen. So now you can see so much more of what's ahead of you and you can plan ahead just that little bit to avoid spikes or jump on an enemy or get through a hoop or do whatever you need to. And it makes the game flow even better than the classic Sonics did.
Yeah, and that was an interesting point. The guy, Christian, what was his name?
Christian Whitehead.
Right, and this game was made by Sonic fans and by people who have ported the original games,
Yes,
right?
people who intimately know the old school Sonic and the physics of those games. They made up their own like fan-made engines of those things.
Right.
It's incredible how they did that. Like, geez, it's spot on.
Yeah.
I love it.
And what a cool idea for Sega to do that, for them to be like, Sonic Team, you guys take a break, and let's get these fan guys in here to do this like celebratory kind of anniversary Sonic game. Because it's celebrating the 25th anniversary, right?
I think, wasn't it?
20th or 25th?
I think it was announced on the 25th, wasn't it? It was, I think 25th is the one.
Right.
But I think, if it's a little late to that party, but it's fashionably late, man, because it's so good.
So we were talking about like speed and momentum and that being a big part of what makes old Sonic games fun and special. What else do you guys think that older Sonic games did well that this game emulated or improved on that made it so good and so fun?
First of all, I love they brought back Toei Sonic. They didn't just bring the like the new Sonic that they had in the newer games and put him in a 2D side scroller.
Right.
It's actually classic Sonic, and they're cute and they're fun.
Yeah, it's
and
not like Sonic
the,
Advance, which was just Sonic Adventure Sonic.
Right.
Doing 2D.
But the thing that I love so much about it is I love the aesthetic of Sonic and Tails and the colors that they have, and like the way they're cute. They're so cute, but they're like at the same time they're really cool.
Yeah. It's like when I think of Sonic, like the older Sonic, I think of his smirk, his attitude, even the way he stands. One of my favorite things in the Genesis games, which I don't even know if it does in this one, I'm sure it does, when you stand too still for too long.
Oh, yeah.
He like looks at you and he like looks at his watch and he's like, come on, let's get going kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love that. It's just like Sonic like screams attitude, which is, he was cool. He was cool.
That would feel really out of place in the 3D games.
Right? That'd be kind of like, and how would
He
that even
didn't
work?
have a lot of tood in the 3D game. He really didn't have anything going for him in 3D Sonic.
No.
Thinking back to like Sonic Adventure, where he doesn't really like have much of a character outside like, oh yeah, you want to play as Sonic because those are the best stages in the game.
Okay, I love Sonic Adventure too.
Like,
just
what
gonna
about,
throw that out there real quick.
But what about like, I can't think of like him as a character in like Sonic. Well, of course not Sonic 06,
Right.
but
Don't even
You don't
start
think
it
about
but like
him.
Sonic Unleashed or Sonic Colors or any of those things don't really. And well, okay, so to be fair, this is an interesting thing. It's like the whole, oh yeah, man, chili dogs, Jaleel White kind of Sonic.
Right.
That was more made for the cartoon than for the game, because in the game he always had the angry eyes. He was always impatient. He always wanted to get down to business.
Well, the
Right.
reason
He
I
was,
say that,
cheeky.
the reason I say that is because in these classic games he's silent. He doesn't need to say anything
Yeah.
to convey how he's feeling.
Right.
Actions
But
speak
he's just
louder.
he's like
Right.
he says so many words in like the 3D games, and I don't know.
God.
It just kind of changes his character.
And
a
you
little
don't even
bit.
know what he's all about. Like in this, he's definitely like saving like animals and stuff. Like the general kind of plot is Robotnik's trying to use the animals for his machines, Sonic's saving them. So it's like a heroic thing. In the newer ones, I mean, he's just kind of stopping Eggman because reasons.
He's bad.
There's
So-
reasons, right?
There's actually a couple of things that need to be highlighted there. When they did the soft reboot and they brought back Eggman and they made the whole thing like set in a city full of people, I feel like it really lost a lot of its charm. One of the great things about the old Sonic games was how you were always in nature and Robotnik was like an encroaching force that was taking over.
Right, like
So
the further you get in the game, it gets more and more
It's
mechanical.
like you'd start in Green Hill Zone, and then you get to the Marble Zone, and then you get to Spring Zone, and suddenly you're in Robotnik's territory. You're in his area, and so it's all more metallic and stuff.
And then you're on the moon.
You're on the moon and stars.
And then in Sonic Adventure 2, he blows up the moon.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, that was like the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I was just like, oh my god. And then by the next game, the moon's fixed.
We fixed the moon, guys.
Oh,
Your
and
tax dollars are
Shadow
working.
loses his memory.
Oh, jeez.
Again.
Oh, yeah, again.
That classic moon fixing technology, though.
Oh.
No, but so we've kind of talked about older Sonic and how it's generally regarded as much better than the newer Sonics. What do you guys think they could do to make 3D Sonic better?
I do think if they added, more platforming, and even if they just kind of slowed it down a little bit, so that way you're not like blasting into walls and
I
stuff.
think you're right. 3D Sonic games are way too cramped.
Yeah.
You're so close to walls, you're bumping into everything. But, even though there were some old school Sonic games that were kind of levels that are a little slowed down,
Yeah.
there was always going to be these segments where you could just do long sprints of running and big open areas, just feel like you're going fast. So, I mean, if they wanted
Those
to
are really
improve
fun,
that-
but at the same time, it's like, yeah, if they made bigger stages, it would work, but that also costs money and time and space.
Well, it does, but that's kind of
it
the...
would make it a massive
Here's
game.
my thought on that. They did a couple games. They did a game, I think, called Sonic Lost World, which was kind of... People compared it a lot to Mario Galaxy, because there's kind of like these little spaces where you're able to run around.
I remember that.
Yeah, and the idea of it is to slow Sonic down like you were talking about and have him being able to like actually explore and stuff, which I think was kind of a good idea. Like, hey, let's try something different. Here's something that I want to ask you guys. It was or is Sonic a fad that just kind of refuses to die? I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second.
I think that Sonic Mania disproves that.
Dude, people just genuinely love this character. I feel like people at this point, they love Sonic and Tails and just all the characters more than they even like the games. Like, they like the idea of Sonic. And that's why I stuck around so long, because that part of it is so good.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But that part that y'all refer to is like the original incarnation of Sonic. Like Sonic in the beginning,
So,
the early games, which is what Sonic Mania is.
well, that's sort of the point I'm trying to get at this, is that I feel like the first few games were really good, tight, really well put together games. And then they kind of get a little bloated as time went on. They got little overdone. Sonic Heroes, despite having some really good sections, is really repetitive. Sonic Adventure games, they've got some. I personally don't think they've aged well. You can disagree with me on that, Brett, but I think they.
I think they look
really
terrible. I think they look absolutely horrendous. But I still have a blast playing them.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm getting at then is like, you know, they keep on trying to go with like bigger, better.
It feels gimmicky. Like Sonic has become very gimmicky.
But then you got Sonic Mania that's as good and better than the old Sonics.
Right.
And I think that that's the proof of concept that this can survive in the future. Just you gotta keep it to its basics.
Right.
So you think if they did that in like 3D Sonic, like they literally just kept the basics, try to do that?
But like what basics though? Like,
you know, the simple design, the focusing on really impressive set pieces with good physics and gameplay. Again, it's how Sonic interacts with the world.
I don't know how they would do it because a lot of Sonic is platforming.
Here's my problem that I've always had with Sonic is that it feels like he has an identity crisis a lot of times since the newer ones.
Yeah.
You know, just because of like things we talked about, the gimmicks and things like that. It feels like a lot of times it's hard to pinpoint what makes Sonic so special besides it's like, you know, Sonic is cool, you know, his attitude, the momentum and that kind of thing, and then the platforming stuff. And because I was trying to think back on other games, because it feels like they attempted to do those things. Because there's definitely speed in like some of the Sonic Adventure games. There's speed in there, and there's definitely like platforming and things like that. But there's something about it that's not quite Sonic, and I can't even put my finger on what it is.
So I guess, you know, it's almost like idolized in our memory. I know that it sounds like I'm saying the nostalgia is the reason, but I don't even think that the nostalgia is entirely the reason. I think that it was it was simple but effective, and it didn't need to be complicated, but I think that going in the future, Sonic becoming a werehog or involving this giant growing cast of characters was a decision that just it was unnecessary. You didn't need to have all these, like, these characters they don't add anything, because when you come to Sonic the Hedgehog, you want Sonic the Hedgehog, even if that means bringing Tails along or bringing Knuckles along.
That brings me to another point where, do you guys think they've re-released Sonic, like old school Sonic, too much? Like, they have done several games where I feel like I've been playing Green Hill Zone over again with like Sonic Generations or whatever maybe, or even on my phone, you know, starting with this game, it was like first level, it was like Green Hill Zone, and I'm just like, cool, I like it. I get nostalgia even because I played it as a kid, and I'm just like, oh, I like this. But then I think about it, I'm like, man, this level has been done so many times. And it just feels like the transition for Sonic had so much trouble from 2D to 3D. Because to me, in my mind, I always think 2D good, 3D bad. And it's different from games like when I think of like Metroid, where it successfully transitioned to 3D rarely, where people thought it was going to be awful. It just so happened to be very, very good. But Sonic had more trouble with that. And see, there's not even anything wrong, I think, with trying to expand the world, add new characters, and things like that. I think... I'm glad they tried to do different things, you know, and stuff like that. That shows kind of courage and like, hey, let's do more things. Let's try different things with like the Sonic franchise. I think that's cool. It just didn't work. Like, why is that? Why didn't it work?
Well, I just don't think it was very well written. But let's look at Sonic's first attempt. I think they tried to go real in your face, you know, show off the technology of the Dreamcast. We're going to have full voice acting. We're going to have all these like new characters, see how many things we can do at once. And so
they
made it too complicated. Like, you know, we didn't need to know the origin story of the Chaos Emeralds, the Chows being introduced.
That Chaos Emeralds. Man, when you say it like that, when you say that, I'm just like, oh, you're right, I didn't need to know. I don't care.
So like, yeah,
I like the idea that they just exist.
But that's the kind of thing. Like, you know, you could say it's like Sonic 3 did enough backstory for that at all. They just existed on Angel Island. They made that island float. It's so cool. But with Sonic,
is really cool.
Yeah, we don't need to know why.
But then, like, you don't need to know why that's there. But then with Sonic Adventure's like, yes, I have somehow unleashed this water monster that no one else touched the entire, you know, series. Like, you know, we've been collecting these Chaos Emeralds over and over again, but never did Chaos show up. Never did we have a flashback to an ancient echidna society. Like, you know.
Wait, are we
Sonic Adventure, man?
To call
Oh my god! But yeah, Sonic Adventure just made things way more complicated than it needed to be, and so I think that that's just one aspect.
Actually, let me ask
Right.
though, like as a kid, if you saw that, do you think you would? I mean, did you play Sonic Adventure as a kid?
I remember seeing Sonic Adventure when it came out. I did not play it until a few years ago.
Okay.
Mhm.
So-
Well, I played it when I was a
So,
kid.
yeah, give me
and
your
I thought, I was like, oh my god, there's so much more depth to Sonic now. I was like, first of all, he's 3D, this is really cool. And then I was like, oh my god, there's like so much more to Knuckles than I thought he was. And then
Right.
I got like sucked into it. And it wasn't until, I started growing up that I was like, wow, actually, I don't like it as much as I used.
Because you didn't have much to compare it to
Yeah,
at
you
that
didn't
point
have a-
because
That's true.
3D
And also-
was new and voice acting was new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
being a kid, you just take everything. You love everything as a kid.
Right. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
did
Yeah.
at least.
So like there's that from the narrative perspective of the problem with between the two is I think that narratively Sonic is just made too complicated. Even if and I totally would have loved if they continued the Archie story with Princess Sally and all those other things would have been really cool to see
Yeah.
that realized because that story is like still the most effective environmental thing I've ever seen in
Yeah.
something else because usually it's like really in your face but this is like it's Sonic, you're always trying to save the forest, like that's just what the games are about.
Yeah, it does. The narrative does really work well in the comics, though. I feel
Yeah.
like it translates a lot.
But
better
in
than
Sonic
that.
Adventure, he's just in a city. There's there are
Yeah.
people around now. No one questions the 3-foot blue hedgehog or the 7-foot giant cat. It just is
Right.
part of this world.
It's like they tried to change too much too fast.
Yeah.
Mario, they don't try to explain too much. Mario, there's tons of weird things about it.
there's so much they could explain in Mario,
Right, but
that
they don't.
choose not to. And I
Right.
think because I don't think
Interesting.
I'd be worried about the next time they try to do a live action Mario movie this time.
Yeah, exactly. That was
It's
the
just-
example. You don't do that.
Oh,
He exists
no.
in this world. And
Yeah.
another thing that I think works for Mario is just from a gameplay standpoint. It's gameplay first, and story is super minimal.
So that's actually the next important thing about this is the gameplay. With Sonic, I think the biggest mistake it made was spreading itself thin. And they tried to be a jack of all trades by having 3 different, no, not even 3, like 6 different gameplay styles.
Yeah, I was about to say
So
that.
they're a jack of all trades, but a master of none.
Right.
So I think that's its biggest problem.
Yeah,
is
too
that
much
it's just
variety, not
too much.
not good enough at what it does. Because I would say the Sonic levels are probably the best thing about the
Yeah.
game. They are fun to play, but they're few and far between. And meanwhile, I think the character with the most levels in Sonic Adventure 2 is Rouge or someone like that.
Rouge the Bat.
Yeah, Rouge the Bat, and those are like the treasure digging levels or whatever,
Oh,
which
yeah.
are
Her
slow
and Knuckles have
Yeah.
the same level
same
design,
level.
and
So
it's-
does Tails and
it's so-
Eggman.
It's
Yeah.
so, but even in Tails in Sonic Adventure 1 wasn't that bad. Sonic Adventure 2, when they put him in this weird mech thing, where he had
Right,
to
and you
scan
can't
around,
fly
it's
as Tails. You're in a
ridiculous. It's
mech. Like, why?
And I think that what they should have done is they should have learned from Mario. Since they released theirs 2 years later, they should have taken that time to see what worked about Mario 64 and try to emulate that. I'm not saying copy Mario 64. I'm
Right.
saying
The
see
idea of it.
how they did this,
Right.
and then apply that to Sonic. Instead, they did Amy Rose, whose levels were really lame. And
You can
then-
play as Amy in that game.
in Sonic
you?
Adventure, yeah.
Oh, in the first one.
The first one.
Oh, gotcha.
Sonic
gotcha.
Adventure, you play as Amy, and then you play as
The
was it-
lame one is Big the Cat.
Yes.
Oh, God,
the
the
fishing.
fishing.
The fishing
Well,
one.
you know what's weird about that? I almost feel like
I-
it was because
I
Sonic
can't, man.
Sega released Pro Bass Fishing with a,
Right.
Dude, I don't care why they did it. It's just so like who wants to play a Sonic game and go fishing? Not even just fishing,
Or
but
Final Fantasy.
oh, that makes me angry.
Are we gonna have a single episode where we don't talk about Final Fantasy?
Talking about fishing. Next week, our Pro Bass fishing episode.
I'm about to. Oh my god, I can't. I'm done.
But yeah, it does seem like Sonic has some inherent problems just by being 3D. Like they tried to change too much too fast. I think it could have been interesting if they'd even kept like stages, like stage 1 and 2 kind of thing. 'Cause
Yeah, the act structure.
Right, because Act 1 and 2, because typically the first one is a little bit easier, especially the first level. You basically run through, you have a lot of momentum, it feels fun to play.
Yeah.
The second one's a little bit more challenging, and then you have a boss at the end.
I feel like that's why Sonic Mania was such a breath of fresh air, because it did have that structure again, and it was really fun gameplay. The bosses were new and fresh, and that was really fun too. It was just nice to have that again.
Yeah, something they nailed really well in that is the alternate paths, like the different paths to the same goal, and like not even just like, oh, I'm gonna go explore over here, but I'm still running. I'm still kind of exploring and doing something different, but I'm still heading towards my goal.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
That thing is like really, really neat.
That's why I don't get tired of Green Hill Zone. Like, I know you were saying a second ago that you were just like, man, how many times can they do it? I will never get tired of it. I will never get tired of seeing how fast I can fly through that level.
Right.
And then, but it's so funny because I feel like I'm playing a new level every time because there's so many different paths to choose that it always feels fresh every time I play it.
Yeah, that was something this game did really well, was kind of messing with your expectation because of how similar it is to older Sonics. And you're like, oh, I know this. And then all of a sudden there's like a different enemy or a platform in a different place, you know, alternate paths, things like that, which was like really, really cool. But man, how much like fan service and love was put into this game. From like all the throwbacks, like the giant rings, and then the mini games with the balls.
Yeah.
Freaking, God, I would say that this is a spoiler, but this game's been out long enough. Everyone knows the Mean Bean Machine boss fight.
yes.
That was so good.
I was not ready for that. I did not expect.
It popped up, but I was like, oh yes, put those Kirby's avalanche skills to use.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
By the way, so that reminds me, one of my favorite throwbacks is actually really subtle. I don't know if you guys caught it, but did you guys ever play Sonic Spinball?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you know when he jumps up and he shakes off the water?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
does that
Just
in the second level. I
Oh,
loved
dude.
that. It's like, dude, man, you guys, you paid so much attention.
Yeah,
Take a moment
exactly.
to appreciate that Sonic Spinball is probably the best pinball game I've ever played.
Yeah, it's really fun.
It's
It's
super
really good.
fun. It's hard, man.
Yeah, it's good though. And I lost my train of thought. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It's gone.
Details is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the tiny little details, like the extra sprites and the, like, you know, Sonic looks up and the animation of him, like,
yeah,
stretching
like,
his arms out and
there's-
just the fluidity of
There's
it.
so many. The animation is so stellar this time. I think that it shows that you don't need to be the highest, most advanced 3D game to be great now.
Right.
It's like, you know.
It's
Which
just-
we even talked about in our Final
Yeah.
Fantasy video. You know, this was your version of a remake, right?
This is exactly. So this is my, Final Fantasy VII remake. Is
Yeah.
that, but even better.
Yeah.
It's just really, really fun. Like, man, I love playing this game.
It's so.
Can we talk about how cool like the addition of adding those coins are? Wait,
So
what's
here's
the deal
what
with,
you get from the.
I haven't beat the
here's
game,
what you
so-
get. If you get those coins, you get little bonus features like a sound test mode. You get to unlock abilities from previous Sonic games.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
For example, you get that one like invincibility move from Sonic 3 that Sonic can do.
Right.
And then you get Sonic CDs like Mobius Strip, wind up to get you to top speed instantly.
Well, you guys want to talk about all the special edition stuff that came with it?
That was so much fan service. They knew we were
it's
gonna eat that up.
So we
That,
got Sonic standing on top of a Sega Genesis console that when you push the button it goes, Sega. And then you also have a classic Sonic Mania Sega style cartridge, and if you open it up there's a little secret compartment with a gold ring, a Sonic ring inside.
Yeah, a gold Sonic ring.
And I
Which
love
feels-
how heavy it is.
Yeah, it has a really
it
great
has
weight
heft
to it.
It doesn't. It's not just some cheap light plastic thing. It's
Yeah.
like an actual ring.
And I like how it's kind of hidden in there too, like a little secret compartment. Like that's super
It's fun to play with. Yeah.
Oh, I just remembered. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the animation videos that were in this
man.
new version.
Dude.
So the throwbacks to the Sonic CD, the original like Sonic Boom song playing, with him running around or whatever. And then, what'd y'all think about that?
I was gonna say, that was a fan actually.
Yeah.
He used to do parodies of Sonic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did like parodies and like funny stuff, and he did that on YouTube, and then he ended up getting really popular. And now seeing him go from that to being a part of an actual Sonic game is amazing because
Yeah,
it looks great.
And again, going back to what you were saying, Brett, I think it's so important that they brought back real classic Sonic. The cutesy, very rounded Sonic. Instead of doing the new Sonic in this old stuff, I feel like it really just touches your inner child to see real classic Sonic in something new again.
Do you remember
shorter
the
Sonic.
meme? Do you remember the meme I sent you where it's like in 1999 or 1991 it had like the Sonic with the tiny legs. By like 2000 he had like the medium legs, and then it was like 2018 he's got like legs like stilts. It like destroyed me when I saw it.
That was the
Oh
best.
my god.
Was
But
he
yeah.
was he lighter blue in this game like he was in the first
They
game? or
did
was
give
it-
him more of a light blue look to him. They sort of lightened up everyone. Like I
Right,
think
yeah.
that they did that to like make things
Yeah.
look more realistic in terms of lighting, like as if
Sure.
there was a sun above you.
right.
But I think that's just the side effect of having better graphics, is you can show more detail.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'll be honest, I don't have a problem with 3D Sonic. I think he looks cool. I like his green eyes and
His
I like,
look, you mean?
Yeah, his look. But there's something really appealing about classic Sonic because he's small. He's got the short legs, pointed shoes, and like the short spikes, and like his little nose. I love that because he still feels, as I'm playing at him, he's cool. He's
Yeah.
cool. He doesn't have to like be over the top or have like really big, cool like tennis shoes. He just
Right.
looks cool and he's really simple.
Did
Yeah.
Sonic have like a catchphrase back in the day?
Chili dogs.
No, like originally.
I'm
like,
sorry, I'm
was there
sorry.
like a Sonic
No,
thing?
there was
at all?
nothing Sonic would say. His only thing was his wagging
His
the
hand.
finger at the screen.
Right,
He
yeah,
didn't-
I
he
remember
never
that.
said anything in the game. So I think that's another thing I think really helps Sonic as a character. It's like less is more.
So to wrap it up, I guess we could say, as far as 3D Sonic goes, keep it simple. If it's going to survive in the future, keep it simple.
I was gonna say, do y'all think Sonic has a future, both
I-
2D or 3D?
I honestly think that Sega would be just wasting so much potential if they did not make a Sonic Mania 2,
Mm-hmm.
or if they didn't
I
take
think if they
this.
didn't have Sonic in the future at all, that would be so. People would genuinely be mad.
Well, yeah.
I think people will stand by Sonic no matter how bad the games get.
Well, I mean, I'm just actually kind of curious about how Sonic Forces is going to do, because that's the new 3D Sonic game, and the response from Sonic Mania has been so overwhelmingly positive. I don't think I've seen a single major critique of Sonic Mania outside of those people who are just like, it's outdated, or I never liked old school Sonic. Like, you know,
Right. And
of
even
course
those
there's
people
that.
are just like, you know what? They'll admit it. It's
Yeah,
actually
they'll admit it.
really,
But
really good.
Plus, if
At
you
the
don't like
same
it, then
time,
why are you playing
yeah.
it?
But at the same time, if they see how popular and how well done this is, if
Mhm.
there is not a Sonic Mania 2, I will be sorely disappointed, and I'll just go right back to not playing Sonic.
Oh, I'm sure there will be. Plus, Sonic Generations had fairly good reception, which kind of combined the 2D
Well-
with the 3D, which Sonic Forces kind of looks to be a sequel to
Well,
that.
to not go overboard, because we're going a little long this time. I don't think my problem with Sonic Generations is not that Sonic Generations is bad. My problem with it is that they had a good thing with Sonic Generations and then just started over again when they
Right.
made the next one. Like, they didn't stick to any one thing too long. They just kept on trying to experiment. Sonic Generations was good. Sonic Colors was good.
Yeah.
But then they're just like, okay, let's throw away all of that and start over with Sonic the Lost World.
Right.
Instead of making a good Generations or Colors 2.
Right, yeah.
They just kept on trying to do things over again.
Right.
Exactly.
And if they keep that up, I think that they're going to basically trip. and
I
not
think
come
they've
back.
experimented long enough. Like they've
Yeah.
been doing this for the last
Take it
15
home,
years.
guys.
Right.
New
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Learn from your mistakes. Learn from
They've
what
got
works.
plenty of time. I think Sonic can only go uphill from here. I mean, come on, like after the werewolf thing. I'm sorry, the werehog.
Dude, listen,
How
man.
bad can it get?
Sonic Boom came out after the Werehog. That's how bad it can get.
Oh, yeah.
Have
yeah.
you seen that show, either
Oh.
of you?
No,
It
but
is-
I've seen
actually-
the gameplay for the game.
Have you
So-
seen like the jokes in that show?
So actually, this is very interesting. I actually was just feeling desperate enough. I actually tried both 3DS Sonic Boom games. Made 2 of them.
Yeah.
And while the first one, the Shattered Crystal, was a little dull, it was actually a pretty good 2D Sonic game in 3D. And then when they did the Fire and Ice one, I think the gameplay's even better in that one.
Yeah.
Of course, you got to deal with the terrible character design and the awful voice acting.
Right.
But on the whole, those were actually really good 2D, 2.5D Sonic games. That would be a great way to go on.
Mhm.
But with the addition of the Fire and Ice one I got, that came with a DVD that had 3 episodes of the show on it.
Oh God.
And they were just like, if there's like a crystallized thing, if humor is ever made physical, this is the exact opposite. This is the antimatter of humor.
It's just
It's
a giant
so
hunk of
unfunny.
not funny.
It's a big bowl of nope soup.
The land of 1,000 nopes.
Cool.
Exactly.
All right, Ben. Final thoughts.
No, that was my final thoughts. I think Sonic has a bright future. I think they'll definitely make a Sonic Mania 2. I think they are idiots if they don't.
Oh, absolutely.
With the success of this
Give
one,
it back to these guys.
It feels
Yeah.
They
great
knew
to have a
what
good
do.
Sonic game. Like
Yeah.
finally.
Just to be
Yes.
like everyone can rally behind this game.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
And I'm positive about Sonic Forces as well. I like that they have old school Sonic in that too, so I'm positive about that as well.
And I like 3D Sonic. I would like to see it do well. I really would. And I like some of the characters, not all of them. Especially Silver. I hate Silver.
Yeah.
Hate.
It's no use.
Please. But yeah, I mean, I really would like to see it do well, and I guess we'll see in the future.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, I guess that's all for this time, guys.
Yeah.
But thanks for joining in with us, guys. We'll see you next time.
Now get out of here. You go outside and play.
Sega.
Bye.